you find the novel is narrated by Lady Setia Parsi girl, who is about 4 years old when the novel begins, and approximately 10 years old at the end, and she witnesses the violence, the killings, the rapes, and the displacement of millions of people due to religion, intolerance, and also hatred. So you find the novel also explores Lenny's sexual awakening and her relationship with her, Aya Shanta, a Hindu girl who is abducted by a Muslim mob during the partition riots. And the novel portrays the ethnic and the religious diversity of Lahore before partition and the tragic consequences of dividing one country into two along brutally enforced the religious lines. So this is the setting of the testament. Dia, just wait for a minute, okay?
Yes, sir.
I said just hold for 1 minute. I'll just be back. Yeah. So I was talking about. Did you understand, Dia, about the novel? Did you get a brief idea about the novel?
Yes, sir. It is more about India and Pakistan
Yes,
partition and what
partition,
consequences.
partition.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. Okay. Now let me tell you about the characters. So the characters are, first character is the Lenny Setti. Lenny Setti is the narrator and the protagonist of the novel, who is a Parsi girl, who suffers from polio and witnesses the horror of partition in Lahore. And then we have Aya. Aya is Lenny's beautiful Hindu nanny who attracts many admirers from different religions and becomes a victim of communal violence when she is kidnapped and forced into prostitution by Ice Candy Man. So who's this Ice Candy Man? Ice Candy Man is a Muslim, popsicle seller who is in love with Aya and betrays her to a mob after witnessing the massacre of Muslim in India. So we find he later marries her and tries to keep her from leaving him. Then we have the next character, that is Godmother. Godmother is Lenny's, maternal grandmother, who is, very strong and wise, woman, and helps, Lenny find Aya and rescue her, for Ice Candy Man. And you find Massier is a Sikh man who is, one of Aya's suitors and a friend of Lenny's family, and he is killed by a Muslim mob during the partition. Then we have Sharabat Khan. Sharabat Khan is a Pathan, wrestler who is another suitor of Aya and protects her from Ice Candyman's, jealousy. So you find he also dies in violence. Okay, am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then we have the next is the aunt. Electric aunt is Lenny's paternal aunt who is married to an you know electrician and lives in Amritsar. And she visits Lenny's family occasionally and brings new of the atrocities that is happening in India. And then we have Rana. Rana is a Muslim boy who lives in a village near Lahore and is friends with Lenny's cousin. So he survives a brutal attack by Sikh militants on his village and tells his story to Lenny. Okay, so you find these are the basic characters that you find in the text. So talking about this particular, the title, why it is said as Ice Candy Man. So you find there is the title has a very a connotation with the with a political connotation, we can say, because we find when this novel was published in 1988 in London, it appeared as Ice Candy Man, and this was the title that Sitwa had intended. However, you find in 1991 American edition, the title was changed, and this title was changed to Cracking India. And why? Because you see, the publishers thought Americans would misunderstand ice candy and confuse it with drugs. So the new title for the American edition is more explicit and clearly indicates that it is a novel of partition which prioritizes India. However, you see the original title has a very significant symbolic connotation. Like first you see of all, we must remember the centrality of the Ice Candy Man's role to the love theme and the political themes of this novel. So, Sidhwa deliberately avoided naming the central character, and he is called the Ice Candy Man because this name has certain specific political, connotations. So we find Sidhwa has always, maintained that this character represents what she call or considers the ICY, which is unstable quality of the politicians who determine the fate of their subjects. And we see at one point in the novel, Lenny and the adult narrator talks, about the ice, lurking deep beneath the hypnotic and dynamic femininity of Gandhi's non-violence exterior. So we find that such men are icy, according to Sidhwa, because they are, remote and indifferent to the human laws, and they cause, by their political acts. So she also feels that political leaders like Gandhi, Nehru, and Subhash Chandra Bose, and the English Viceroy Lord Louis Mountbatten were cold as ice to the sufferings caused by partition. So such an interruption in is again part of Sidhwa's historical vision, and she has always believed that politicians stir up trouble, and it is the ordinary person or a woman like godmother who battles strong. So we see here that the title, Ice Candy Man, is a metaphor for those who wield power, and it provides an inventive and indirect way to explore the role politicians played in the Holocaust and bloody birth of Pakistan and the New India. So we find Sidhwa feels, that politicians like the Ice Candy Man were just, role playing. She thereby implies that politicians are not, consistent, and that public image keeps shifting. But it is also suggested that the motives of politicians appear, noble, but are often, selfish. So, like the scheming politicians, the Ice Candy Man also frequently, changes roles. When the sales of the Ice Candy Man decline in cold weather, he changes his profession and he becomes a birdman who takes pride in deceiving his customers. When due to communal tension, bigotry is on the increase, the Ice Candyman's become Allah's telephone. So posing as a holy man with a direct line to the Almighty and apologizing to his clients that Allah has been busy of late, and all this during the Indian independence business. So we find, so towards the end of the novel, the Ice Candy Man becomes a holy pretender, which the author implies in the role of many politicians. Ultimately, you find the Ice Candyman takes up the despicable profession of pimping, So overall, it is seen that the ice candy man uses his glib tongue and power of rhetoric to be successful in many roles. And you find the author suggests that politicians, especially during the time of partition, were indulging in mere double speak. So we find overall the novel is far too subtle to state a direct political view. But however, you find it does not idealize the Indian leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, and vilify Jinnah as often happens in post-partisan fiction and histories. So you find for political reasons, at times Sidhwa provides an alternate view of Jinnah and appears to be praising him. However, you find Sidhwa's overall belief is that the maneuvering of those in power has no more substance or permanence that than melting ice candy. So ironically, you see the seller of such an you know uh, ephemeral product, that the man who shifts from one role to another turns into unlikely symbol of those who were making history, or at least thought they were doing so. But the title, as I'm trying to tell you, explain you, it's not just a chosen at random, but has several interesting political connotations, which enhance the subtle meanings of this particular text. Okay, am I clear, Divya? Sorry, Dia.
Uh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So then I will tell you about the themes. What are the themes that you see in this text? One is the political depicts the partition. Partition, where we find the novel, depicts the political and the social, turmoil that resulted from the division of India into two separate nations based on religious lines. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so So the novel, shows how partition, affected the lives of millions of people who were, displaced and killed or traumatized by the uh, violence and hatred that erupted, between the Hindus, Muslims, and the Sikhs during that period of time. And you see, religious identity is also an important, theme, because the novel, explores how religious affiliation became a marker of the difference of a source of conflict among people who used, to coexist peacefully. And the novel also shows how some people, change their religion identity to survive or to escape. Perception, you find from the text. There was a very minor character called Hari, who had converted from Hindu to Islam. Okay, and then Sidhu also has reflected the theme of childhood and innocence, because we find the novel portrays the loss of childhood and innocence that Lenny and other children experienced due to partition. So Lenny witnesses the horror of war, betrayal and rape, that shatter her, idyllic view of the world. And she also grows up faster than normal as she learns about sexuality, about violence and death. And then we have women and violence. Women and violence. You find the novel exposes the vulnerability and oppression of women in the patriarchal society that is torn by the communal strife. And you find the novel focuses on the plight of Aya, who is kidnapped, raped, and forced into prostitution by Ice Candy Man. And the novel also, you find, reveals the resilience and courage and women who resists or escape their abuses, such as godmother who helps Lenny.